I'll turn it back on. So good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock, and I call this hearing to order. And I note that we're just missing Elizabeth tonight. She is on holidays. The purpose of this evening's hearing is to consider the applications listed on the agenda, requesting a consent for minor variance to the township zoning bylaw. The input we receive from agencies, the public, and staff is important to ensure that the committee makes well-informed planning decisions. For each of the applications listed on today's agenda, the hearing procedure will be as follows. First, staff will provide a brief explanation of the application. Second, the applicant or their agent will be asked to provide any comments. Third, comments from members of the public will be heard or read aloud by the Secretary Treasurer. Fourth, following the submissions, the committee will consider all comments and the agenda materials and will make a decision on the application. Should you wish to be notified of the decision, you must file a written request with the Secretary Treasurer. So first, we'd like to have an adoption of the agenda. The recommendation reads that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustments hearing held on Wednesday, December 8th, it shouldn't be that date, held on, November 20th, be adopted as presented. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Miklos. Second by Adam. Any questions? All those in favor?
I apologize, Mr. Chair. It's for today's agenda, that is December 18, 2024. The minutes would be for the November meeting.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interests. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interests? Seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption. Now we're doing the adoptions of the minutes. The minutes are for the Committee of Adjustment meeting November 20th, 24th to be adopted as presented. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Adam. Seconder, Horace. All those in favor? Carried. Submissions to be heard. We'll now move to applicant A 2024. Would staff like to provide a brief explanation of the applicant A 2024?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant is proposing a structure that will include an agricultural storage component and an additional dwelling unit. The proposed ADU requires two minor variances. First, for the permission for an ADU as a permitted use, and second, for the location of the ADU in the front yard. There are other two variances needed for the proposed agricultural storage, including side yard setback of 22 meters, where the bylaw requires it to be 30 meters, and a 38 meter setback from the front lot line, where the bylaws requires the structure to be located 100 meters from the front lot line. For the purpose of evaluating compliances with the applicable zoning standards, the proposal is reviewed as the two distinct structures, one as accessory residential use and one as an accessory agricultural use, despite being attached and appearing as a single entity. Under Planning Act, the decision by Municipal Council and the other planning authorities must be consistent with the PPS and conform to applicable provincial plans. The PPS permitted uses Part 5, Section 4.32 states where a residential dwelling is permitted on a lot on a prime agricultural area, 2 ARUs shall be permitted. The proposal meets all the other zoning requirements for size, height, and the ground coverage. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant or agent like to provide any comments regarding this application? Mr. McKenzie? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Turn the mic on, please.
There we go. Okay. No, it should be constant green. Yeah.
There, I got it. Yep.
Got it.
I'm sometimes too forceful. So. The subject property I'm very familiar with because I just lived down the road from it at one time, and it's all agricultural land around it. But the purpose of it is consistent with what the provincial policy statement is trying to achieve. As you know, I chaired the potato board, was involved in a lot of provincial legislation. And when I looked into it, what they're trying to do is they realize that farmers are starting to retire, turn their farms over to their children and doing whatever else. At one time, you would get a corner lot taken off or something like that, a retirement lot for farmers. That's no longer available. So what they're trying to get back to is not putting more pressure on towns by having retired farmers moving in, but the idea is that the farmers should be able to continue farming as well. In this case, the property was sold to the daughter and son-in-law about 2 years ago, I believe. A year and a half ago, they got a building permit to build the house on it, which you'll see in the layout. And then what's happened since that time, Frank's had a few health issues, and so he sold his farm that he had, and but he would like to continue farming. Before, he was doing some cattle and chickens and different things, as well as cropping. Now he'd like to continue cropping. And the purpose of the shed structure off of the back of the proposed auxiliary housing unit is so that he can put his equipment in there, service it, do whatever is necessary so he can keep farming. He still has land associated with this farm there, so it makes sense to do it. The reason it's not going behind is because when the house was built, it's nice and tall, and as you could see, the land's been built up around it, but at the back it falls right off, and it's all going down into either hay or grain or beans or corn ground, so it's all agricultural land. If we put the building behind there, we'd be needing to expand the driveway, have it go back behind, have it set back from the existing structure, do a lot of it. Where it is in front makes sense because they're going to take hydro from the 400 amp service in the existing structure. The well's at the front, so they're going to use the well from there. They're going to build this dwelling unit, the 2-bedroom dwelling unit, single story, with this on behind and use the same driveway. So they're not cutting into usable land base. And that's, when you look at the provincial policy statement, that's part of what it wants to do, is ensure that on a farm property, you maintain much arable land as possible. And so previously, and I've been involved before, where they always want auxiliary buildings out behind, but in this case, it makes sense for it to go out front there. And I think we've all agreed that that's the best spot really for it to go. The ground has already been built up because of the previous house that was built there. So the ground height's good. DNBC appears not to have any concerns with it. So it is a logical and good place to go. The reason, one of the other reasons this needs to be there is because Anna works afternoons and evenings as a paramedic. Mike works all day long. He's in construction. They're both great people. They've got little kids, and Christine looks after them during the day. She'll get them on the buses, get them off the buses, and if she is right there, then she has a place to bring the kids to during the day, and they've also got the house right there. So it's convenient, it's safe, it's reasonable to ask for as far as that goes. So they lived about a mile and a half down the road, but as I said, the farm's been sold. They may need to be out by March, probably by June. So this gives them an opportunity to plan ahead for what they're doing and have as little impact as possible in doing it. So that's really the rationale behind it. I don't know if I forgot anything. No? Any questions? Okay. Because I can talk forever. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Are there any members of the public that would like to ask any questions with regards to this application? Seeing none. Any members of the committee? Okay, you'd like to move the recommendation? Second, okay. And then I'm just going to read through and then we'll vote. Okay, we will now consider decision for application A 2024. Prior to conducting the vote, I'll read the decision for the Committee of Adjustment. In the matter of subsection 45 of the Planning Act and the matter of concession 8 lot 24 in the township of Adjala-Tosorontio, former township of Tosorontio, but that should be Adjala. That's Adjala, that's not Tosorontio. County of Simcoe, and in the matter of the application of Anna Parleski, thank you, as owner of the said for land for a minor variance under the Planning Act. And whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed for the Planning Act, and having had regard to those matters prescribed in the Planning Act, has decided that the request for a minor variance for the attached secondary dwelling and agricultural storage barn in the front yard be accepted. So we have a mover by Adam, second by Miklos. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll hand that over to you. Yep. I only have two. You guys ready? Oh, okay. Yep. Dwelling in, I think it was together. It's attached. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same. They have the firewall there. Okay, now we'll look at application A23-24. Would staff like to provide a brief explanation of A23-24?
Thank you, Chair. The applicant is proposing an oversized accessory structure intended for the storage of the cars, furniture, and other personal items. The proposed storage shed requires a minor variance to allow for a 2,400 square feet garage for residential use, whereas bylaw 2115 currently permits accessory structure up to 1,991 square feet on lots greater than 2 hectares. The new accessory structure is planned to be situated east of the primary residence within the rear yard. The variance pertains solely to the accessory structure size and meets all other zoning requirements of setbacks, height, ground coverage, and location. Thank you.
Mr. Hawkins, would you like to add anything to? No? Okay. Okay. Thanks, Scott. Is there anybody from the public that would like to ask any questions with regards to this application this evening? Seeing none. Committee members.
Are you planning to keep the existing? Are you planning to keep the existing building that is in front of the proposed structure? Yeah? What size of that?
That is a 30 by 40.
It's about 1,200 square feet.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions? We'll now move to a decision for application A2324. Prior to conducting a vote, I will read the decision of the committee consideration in the matter of subsection 45-1 of the Planning Act and the matter of concession 3, half lot 14, RP 51R24148, part 3, in the township of Adjala-Tosorontio, former township of Tosorontio, county of Simcoe. And in the matter of the application of Scott Hawkins as owners of the said Ford land for a minor variance under the Planning Act. And whereas the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act and having had regard to those matters prescribed by the Planning Act, has decided that the request for a minor variance for an oversized garage be approved. Can I have mover? Okay. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay. Reason for decision, the purpose does conform with the official plan. The proposed does confirm with the general intent of the zoning bylaw. The variance is minor in nature and the variance is desirable for the applicable development of use of lands. Yeah. This is all new. Sorry. I'm not used to these. I get it. There you go. There we go.
That's your way of showing your.
Staff ready to move on to that? Okay, we will now move on to application A19-24. Would staff like to provide a brief explanation of application A19-24?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This application requests approval for a minor variance to allow a 1,680 square feet detached single-story ADU in the front yard. The accessory dwelling unit is not permitted in the zone under zoning bylaw, and the variance is required for its approval. Additionally, the proposed ADU and the two existing yards measuring 108 square feet and 65 square feet are located in the front yard, whereas bylaw requires it to be located in the interior side or the rear yard. The site plan that has been submitted with the departmental report has been slightly being modified. Although the site plan has been adjusted slightly, the proposal remains unchanged in its overall intent and effect. The proposed building is now positioned little further into the front yard, but continues to meet all the exceed all the required setbacks. The variance being sought remain the same, and the revised site plan does not introduce any new non-compliance or impact the analysis in any way. The proposal meets all other zoning requirements of size, height, setbacks, and ground coverage. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Sparrow, would anybody like to? Yes, would you like to?
I couldn't understand.
Okay, so would you like to add anything else to Karteep's?
The reason we have to put the house in the front yard is there just simply isn't enough room in the backyard to put it.
Mhm.
And we want to build like, it's a home for ourselves because our son is going to take over the original old farmhouse.
Okay.
So otherwise, I think it's within the property lines and things like that, but, and that we can get easy access to hydro and the water and everything if we put it where we're thinking of putting it.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. Mr. Sparrow?
May I add one thing?
You sure can.
Okay. The definition of a front yard is extremely confusing in this case, and I'll explain why. When the house was built 120 years ago, it faces Baseborden Road.
Mhm.
In other words, that's where it faces, and that should be classified as the front yard. The house is well over 800 feet from the township definition of the front yard. And what the new place that we're thinking of, or we want to build for us, single story. Yes, it's in your definition of a front yard, but it's 800 feet from the road that you're taking as the front yard. And that's been a little confusing for both of us because of where the house sits at the back of our property, right at the back. So for us to put a house in what you're saying, the backyard, it would be something like 12 feet wide. Serious.
Yeah, no.
So that's why we came for the variance, and that a little explanation about what we're attempting to do, and the distances involved. And we're using the same driveway, our son is going to be living there. So there you go. If you have any other questions, feel free.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sparrow. Any members of the public that would like to ask any questions with regards to this application? We'll start with you, Horace. Any questions?
There was, I'm sorry to interrupt. There was one comment received from the public.
Okay.
From Gary Kale, 844217 Side Road. It was regarding the submission of D4 study as the subject property is in proximity to the disposal site. So that part is considered as a condition for the approval, and it would be submitted at the building permit level, a building permit stage. So a D4 study with the county is to be submitted for building approval, building permit. Thank you.
So I don't think you're planning to take any trees down, are you? Oh, you have to, okay. There's lots of trees, yeah.
D4 study is mandatory when you're building within a certain radius of a landfill station. So the D4 study will be.
Okay, oh, D4.
Yes,
okay.
D4. Yeah.
Okay, we were sorry, Krithi. Yeah, we thought it was deforestation that.
Oh, no, it's
No,
a
no.
D4 study.
Okay,
D4.
D4, yes, okay.
Kartik, can you explain what the setbacks are or the radius for the that mandate a D4 study?
It is 750 meter radius, and in official plan it's 500 meter, and it is well within the radius. It's right on the boundary. It's like not too close to the disposal site, but it is within the radius, and it is as per county's bylaws. So county can waive it off, or county can ask for some other scope study rather than full-fledged study. It is within county's bylaws, so we just need approval from the county at building permit stage. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I was just explaining why the county, it's the gases and stuff that comes from the landfill station.
I'm not sure. Was a house built within that so-called
So
next door?
Kartik,
I'm sorry, it's not audible. If you can please repeat the question.
they're saying that there was a house built, 2 houses built next door that are within that same scope.
Yes, whenever the new development comes, the county asks for a new study, or it depends upon if they just have to analyze if there is enough buffer between the houses or not, which will protect the new house or the new development from any fire hazard, any if the new services are going there, they have to judge that it's not going to impact the aquifers or the new leaching effect or things like that. So it could be like a scope study in this case because it's right on the boundary. It's not too close to the landfill site, and it depends upon county's bylaws, and they have to look into their records if there is any study done in their within their neighborhood with like any new houses. They might look into that and compensate it in that way. But again, it's county has to look into that.
So the county
you.
regulates it.
Yeah,
The county can do some research and see if there were D4 studies done on those other houses. They're the ones that mandate it, but unfortunately, it's applicable and it's a condition of this variance. But you could reach out to your neighbors if they're the new owners and see if they know anything about these D4 studies. It might help you. Okay. Fair. That's right, Kartik, right?
Yes.
they could talk to their neighbors to see if they have the studies and if the county would work with them.
Yeah, and it could be like extension of that study, or like they could increase their scope of study and few criteria to be added to the same study that could save their time, and county might be satisfied with that.
Talk about it afterwards. Okay?
Adam just has a question.
Through the chair to Kartik.
Yes.
I realize that it might be within the distance to the CFB board and boundary fence line, but that landfill, the actual landfill portion, that's a significant distance in past that fence line. Like I'm well versed in it. So I know exactly where it is, where the old one was, where the new one is. And would the county still just require like the perimeter fencing? Because that's more like a patrol, more so than like your regular transfer station. Your transfer station, like in Tosorontio, it's a small footprint. Where if you actually put that same footprint over top of the existing landfill at CFB Borden, it'd be a lot smaller where the actual operation zone is compared to their perimeter zone, which needs to be patrolled.
Again,
that could be something that they could go to the county and explain that the landfill at the base Borden isn't actually where the fence line is. It is located in further.
Yeah, you're probably like 600 meters plus from that fence line. You're quite the distance.
Yeah, it's the radius defined is 750 meters, and it is within that radius. But again, it's like right on the edge of that radius, this property, and it's the last property in that radius, I would say that. And county can have a look, and they might waive it off. It again depends upon their criteria and what further studies they need, or maybe it could be just a scope study, not a full-fledged study.
Okay, thanks, Kartik. We'll give them a hand with getting them on their way with this if we can help them at all.
And just a quick note with respect to what you just mentioned, that the neighbors had to obtain some type of permit. So maybe that's all you need, just a permit from the county as opposed to a complete study, because I'm looking at the map and I mean, I don't see anything here within a kilometer radius other than trees and forests. So there is, I think you should be fine. It's just a condition that has to be met, and it's just the documentation. And yeah, I think it's just because I don't know what's the cost. What's the cost if it? So if you can avoid that study where you don't have to have soil samples taken and yada 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 at the specific cost, which is not very low, I'm assuming, then you're ahead of the game. So talk to your neighbors, get their side of the story. Yeah.
Adam, sorry.
Through the chair, I just want to confirm, because it's a one story, is it a slab on grade? Are you planning on doing slab on grade, like no basement, or? You were going to put a base. Oh, okay. I just wanted to confirm that as well. Yeah. Oh, I know it's sand. Oh yeah, that's. I guess nothing we can do with.
Okay, thank you. And we'll do the vote as soon as I finish reading. We'll now move on to a decision for application A19-24. Prior to conducting the vote, I will read the decision of the committee's consideration in the matter of subsection 45-1 of the Planning Act, in the matter of concession 7, part lot 15, RP 51 R27 381, parts 4 and 5 in the township of Adjala-Tosorontio, former township of Tosorontio, county of Simcoe, and the matter of application of David and Francis Sparrow as owners of the said Ford land for a minor variance under the Planning Act. And whereas the township of Adjala-Tosorontio's Committee of Adjustment, having conferred with all applicable agencies and persons as prescribed by the Planning Act, and having had regards to those matters prescribed by the Planning Act, has decided that the request for a minor variance for a secondary dwelling and its front yard location with 2 other accessory structures be, let's read the decision, that the applicant seeking relief from zoning bylaw 03-57 as amended to permit a secondary dwelling on rural zone property and its location in the front yard for 2 other existing accessory structures be approved. Reason for the decision: the proposal does conform to the official plan. The proposal does conform with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The variance is minor in nature, and the variance is described for the appropriate development and uses of the lands. And we have a mover and a seconder, Adam and Miklos. All those in favor? Carried. This minor variance has been made subject to the following conditions, which must be, in the opinion of the committee, that Mr. and Mrs. Sparrows will pursue completion of a study in accordance to the Ministry of the Environment's guideline D4 or equivalent guideline. If required, to the satisfaction of the town and/or county, the study will examine the impact of waste management site on proposed development. So again, talk to your neighbors and talk to the staff. Okay. Did you have any other questions, sir? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. We want to pass these down to the Secretary Treasurer. So we'll now move on to item number 6, general business. And the next item of business is item 6.1, adoption of the 2025 Committee of Adjustment calendar. The recommendation reads that the calendar for the Committee of Adjustment 2025 be adopted as presented. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Horace. Thank you, Adam. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Item number 7, adjournment. I'd like to announce that we don't have to have a vote to adjourn. This meeting is declared adjourned at 6:34. 32? Okay, I'm just looking at the clock up there and it looks about 33, but
Sure.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. So.